My name is Chris Claremont. You're watching Omni X-Men.
Hi, I'm Bob McLeod, and you're watching Omni X-Men.
Yes, gang, we're getting near the end of the season of Omni X-Men. We're so far down the rabbit hole of Omni X-Men, we're actually not even reading X-Men books tonight. That's right. We're getting so far off afield tonight. We're getting into the original X-Men team. And boy, do I have some lovely sunlight. Yeah, I'm on the sunshine coast over here. You guys are at nighttime back east. But I got some lovely light happening here. Yeah, this is Omni X-Men, the weekly show where we are going issue by issue through Chris Claremont's iconic tenure on Uncanny X-Men. We've done seasons on New Mutants as well, and tonight we're doing a one-off experience of this is directed by was it J.J. Abrams or something. I got the amazing lens flare going on right now, gang. I don't even know what's going on. How do I get that fixed? I'm not gonna worry about that. You guys are just gonna deal with it. It's sunset here. It's California. Yeah, it's shiny like a. Anyways, so we're doing X Factor tonight. Is all of you Cyclops haters can enjoy taking pot shots at the world's worst husband and father. We will really enjoy the nitty gritty of taking pot shots. Last time we did this, all the Cyclops fans failed to show up. They all ran and hid like cockroaches when the lights got turned on. And will they do the same thing tonight? Lord only knows. We're going to go through the X Factor issues. We're going to run through the original 8 issues and the annual, and we're going to get into some side quests as well. And that's not me alone. No. That is me and this guy, No Good Comics.
The light.
Yeah.
Oh, the light.
That was
too
fun, yeah.
bright.
Woo!
Is it
Sun went down
Phoenix
fast.
outside?
Yeah,
Phoenix is outside your window.
The Phoenix
right now.
Force. That's what that was.
It's coming for you.
I don't know where she is. Where is me? Oh, Jean. I've got Jean over there with Cable and that's my X Factor. No.
There you go.
How you doing, man?
Boy. Good, man. Doing good, man. It's we had a lot of reading, on our omnibus homework here.
Yeah.
And actually not even in the omnibus for me, because my omnibus didn't have all this stuff, which is certainly a little inconvenient. I think I'm gonna have to get the one you have, because for tonight at least, all the me flipping through things, I got to do it digitally, and it is kind of a pain to quickly thumb through things. So.
Yeah, that's a great point to bring up. The fact that ultimately we're running off of kind of 2 different omnis, because they have the Claremont omnibus, and this is season or volume 5 of the Claremont omnibus that you were working on there. But this is also when Marvel started doing the event omnis, and this is the Prelude to Mutant Massacre omnibus that I'm using, which they share, I would say, like 85% of the same content. But the big difference is knowing that this leads into the Mutant Massacre, which is our next season, by the way. All of the information on who is and what are the X Factor team members, that is important. And they want to set that up here. And there's several characters who are vital in the Mutant Massacre that we're meeting for the first time in these books. So it's kind of cool and important in that regard.
Yeah, for sure.
Womp womp. Yep. So yeah, a lot of reading. We tried to space it out to give everybody time to catch up on it. Hopefully nobody's got screen burn on their eyes or anything from any of that. We have an amazing guest tonight. It's good that we're doing something so robust with so much involved in it, so much history, so much classic character drama going on. It is obviously the best choice for something like this. His link is down below along with Justin's, but yeah, we're talking about the one, the only, the magicalist of all lassos. What's going on?
Is it bright out there, or is it just my future?
It's brought to you by J.J. Abrams, the king of lens flares.
Hey, thanks for
coming
having
back.
me on.
It's happening again. Hey, yes, thank you for being here, for making the
Yeah,
time.
man.
We appreciate you, buddy.
So for those that wondered how I ended up on this show, I did not get an early pick on where to appear on this season.
No.
And when they got around to me, John said, what show do you want to be on? Here's the options. And he said, we're doing this X Factor show, but we're not going to have a guest. I said, I want to be on the X Factor show. He said, we're doing an X Factor show, but there's not going to be a guest. Which one do you want to be on? I said, I want to be on the X Factor show. And then this went on again, and he said, I'll talk to Justin. And that's how the conversation ended.
I remember it differently. I remember saying, Ryan, do you want to be on Omni X-Men this season? We're going to be talking Longshot. And you said, get me the hell off this show. Can I do anything but Longshot?
I'm like, unsubscribe.
So this is Ryan's alternative to having to talk about Longshot. And my God, I've got the brightest.
John's just disappearing.
I don't know what is happening over here at my house. But man, it is bright in here. Holy cow. Sunshine State. What is happening here? Yikes. But yes, we do appreciate you coming on, Ryan. Obviously, we know you're a big Jean Grey Phoenix fan. Sure. This is a pivotal saga in her storyline. I know you
and I remember as a comic book fan this time, and there was a lot of excitement going on at this
A lot of hype. Yeah. So I know that you were perfect for that, and you're going to give us a little bit of your history, knowledge, backstory of kind of what was going on at Marvel at this time as we dive into it here for sure. But we're going to say hello to the chat. We're going to give some reminders, and then we're going to dive right in because this could be a long one. What's going on, Rod? The Rican's in the chat.
Rod.
This guy is crushing it. I don't know if he's at 8,000 subscribers now, but he blew up. Man, blew up.
Good for
I hope
you,
you're doing well, Rod. Yeah. So deserving. We got Impressed Comics. He was leaving really funny comments on my videos. He's a channel member, so he's getting early access. I got like 8 early access videos. He's clearing through all of them. I appreciate you, Matt.
Nice.
Tony's in the chat. He did his homework. I know he was rewatching 2 weeks ago's stream because Tony knows we're going to ask trivia questions about the New Mutants annual that we read over on Justin's channel, and he's got to be up on that so that he can answer and get on the giveaway wheel. Because friends, look, after tonight, we got one more show before the giveaway show. So it's down to it, man. It's down to the final moments. If you want to, tonight's the perfect night because this guy's not in the chat. You know, you can gain some ground on this guy tonight. So,
but he is reading who is trolling him and who is not.
So, and he's going to be able to give away some points to some lucky fans in the chat. So being here to the end and trying the best to answer the trivia would be the way to get on that list. We got Jackson Roy Kirk. What's going on, JRK? Good to see you, sir.
Meow.
Adam's making stuff up. He said, somebody said, hey, let's get the original X-Men back together. And you know, someone replied, okay, we'll kill the other 4. No. Let's figure out how we can bring Jean back alive again. Yeah. John's really pulling in the lighting tricks for this episode.
Yeah.
Waking me up. How dare you? What's going on? Candace Barbosa's in the chat. Good to see you, Candace. Chaos is saying it makes your skin look red as red can be. I'm shining. I'm bright. Yeah, the Star Trek lens flares. That's what I was going for, Adam. It burns. It's shining on my Wotel John. It's beautiful. You guys are amazing. It's not Jean and Cable. It's Jean and the boy. Yes, the child. Yeah. Yes, I don't want to hold my child. The child. Let's see here. Bearded Comic Bros in the chat. He says, you get a choice for these shows?
We're joking, Greg. No one...
Everybody else, just not you. This is some scandalous.
Heart attack!
Unacceptable.
Heart attack!
I could see Ryan putting parentheses, gasp. Very.
If I had pearls, I would clutch them.
Jackson says it was incredible to read the Avengers and FF issues, and we will start with those to be sure.
Yeah.
And we got Ruben Guzman. Ruby was on this guy's channel just Sunday night. It was great seeing Ruben online. So if you guys missed that, you got to catch the rewind by clicking on Ryan's name in the description down below and going over to his channel and subscribing. That's how you do that. I'm not subscribed. You've been banned. Yeah, Chaos gets banned from a lot of things. I get that. Did you win the giveaway yet? Bearded Comic Bro, you need to be on the giveaway list to win the giveaway. So you got to stick around and answer some trivia. That's all I'm saying. You got to earn that spot. You got to earn it.
This is true.
So yes, tonight we're talking X Factor. We're talking about the original launch, the process that went through. And Ryan, I know you wanted to give us a little backstory.
Did you say hello to my girl Candace?
I did. I said hello to Candace earlier, but I'll do it again because Candace is pretty amazing. She's worthy of double recognition.
Yeah.
That's right.
But I know, Ryan, I'll give you what I remember from the lead up to this era, and then Ryan, you can help fill in the gaps. This was definitely in the era when I was collecting Uncanny, and my older brother wanted to be different, so he started collecting X Factor, and we had all of these issues. I was getting all the early 200s of X-Men. He was getting the early X Factors, and we would trade books. And when the Mutant Massacre came, we were both, just geeking out on all this stuff. I had the Amazing Spider-Man issue that's involved in this run. It was incredible to read. I really enjoyed that. I had the Avengers and the FF issue where they have the Cocoon. Like, I had all of these books when I was a kid, and I loved all. And then I had the 2 classic X-Men issues that there are fragments of in my omnibus that cover X-Men 101, or 100, I should say, when Jean pilots the plane and starts crashing down, and issue 138 when the Phoenix Force dies and when Jean dies, right? I had those. That's how I first read those, was in classic X-Men. So I had all the original stuff plus the added material at the back. So for me, this is this omnibus is my early days of reading comics. Like, this has all of it. It's all the juice. And I even remember the ads they had in Marvel books at this time that said, if you have a problem with mutants, you should call X Factor. And there was like a number. This was before the issue dropped. They had these little fake posters as advertisements to hype it. And they didn't tell you what it was. They didn't tell you who was going to be in the book. They didn't tell you any of that. It was very bland, but it was like, ooh, a new X-related book. And it sounds like they're mutant hunters. So it was like, oh, this is curious, because it was part of the whole concept of X Factor having a political facing version versus what was really happening behind the scenes, right? What do you remember, and what have you learned, Ryan, about this era?
Sure. What I remember first is there was a lot of excitement about this. The original 5 team, or it said the original X-Men were back. And then, of course, that raises the question, what are you going to do about Jean Grey? And the initial reply to that I'll talk about in a moment. And then I did some other digging as well and reading a lot of research articles preparing for tonight's show about what was going on behind the scenes. So initially, of course, they wanted another X-Men book because X-Men was a cash cow. And they're like, we can continue this. They went to Chris Claremont and said, hey, we don't expect you to do it. We're launching another X-Men related book. And he was very hesitant about wanting or giving his blessing on that, because his number one concern, oh boy, you guys are not going to like this. His number one concern was, to him, Cyclops was retired. And he might occasionally assist in a regular X-Men story, but he just wanted him retired from the superhero business. He had a wife, he had a baby, and he didn't want any of that getting tarnished. And so that was his initial concern with him not being involved in this. So they say, okay, it looks like our 5th member, our female member, is going to be Dazzler. And they went far enough in the final issue of the Dazzler comic book, issue 42, in the very last panel, you can see Hank is talking to Dazzler, and he says, lots of factors to be considered, Daz. For instance, not that I dream of exerting influence, but how does X Factor strike you? What? And she says, And that's how her solo series ended. So it was every indication that it was going to be Dazzler.
Are you trying to sell us all on buying the Dazzler omnibus?
I'm always. I'm trying to convince you to launch Omni Dazzler.
We can add it into the other seasons we're planning.
So they would do a lot of, Marvel was doing at this time, a lot of advertisements with the female member blanked out.
Okay.
And with a question mark on who it's going to be.
But the other team members were set as far as like the original 4 gentlemen.
And John Byrne gets wind of what's going on. He's at Marvel at the time. And he says, and this is such a John Byrne quote from what I'm about, you could just tell he was the one who said that. He said, well, there's this annoying fanboy named Kurt Busiek who told me about his concept of how Jean is really alive. And Shooter got very interested in this. And he said, well, what is it? First of all, I give John Byrne credit for not stealing the idea, because Kurt Busiek wasn't employed by Marvel at all.
At that point, because he's been an employee of Marvel.
He didn't have to call him an annoying fanboy, though.
No, that was a little uncalled for.
Yes. So they pitched this concept. She's in a cocoon. The Phoenix Force has duplicated her. And Shooter is going bonkers. He loves this idea because Shooter sees the press he's going to get for bringing Jean back this way.
Right.
And so he was instantly sold on this idea. So the next thing that they have to do, Shooter's assembling his team. The editor needs to tell Chris Claremont what's going on. So they take Chris Claremont out to eat on a Friday night. This is all on purpose. On a Friday night, they take him out. They have lots of drinks before it's time to eat. They make sure that it's late enough in the evening that Chris Claremont can't get a hold of Jim Shooter for the entire weekend.
Jesus.
Because they know he's going to be upset and he's probably going to quit. And Chris Claremont has said, I would have probably quit at that moment.
Wow.
They tell Chris Claremont what's going on, and he is pissed. I mean, he is ready to give up everything. Wow. He's ready to leave Marvel. He's done with them. And so, of course, that's done on a Friday night to give him a weekend to cool off before he talks to Shooter.
Yeah.
So in that time during that weekend, Claremont says, I got their answer. Leave Jean alone. I don't want the Dark Phoenix story. I don't want anything to take away from what we did with that story.
Sure.
I have the answer. The answer is Jean's sister. She's a mutant. And we'll weave something in, and we'll bring, I think her name's Sarah Gray.
Oh
He's like, we'll bring Sarah in.
Yeah.
That's what we'll do.
We need more redheads on this book. That's what we clearly need, is more redheads.
He goes to Shooter on Monday, and Shooter is like, hey, you've got a great idea with Sarah. Run with it in your book. And he's like, he knew that he was so sold on this idea and the press that he would get from bringing Jean Grey back, there was no changing his mind.
Right.
So that is the backstory of how Dazzler got kicked to the curb and how Jean ended up coming back. So John Byrne agrees to write the framework in the Avengers and FF story, the basic framework of how they're going to bring her back and then launch it over to the team. And when we get more into like the first issue of X Factor, I'll jump back for a second and tell you something else that happened to the first 2 issues of X Factor behind the scenes.
Nice. And then on your side, Justin, I'm curious because you have never read any of these, right? What was your knowledge or information going in?
I would say I don't think I was quite born yet when these were coming out, but it is cool to hear how much hype was kind of going on, for this release to come out. And I had no idea about any of that history, Ryan. So,
but you knew that this was going to have the original team back, right? You knew some of that.
What we've
read so far in the omnibus.
Yeah. So like, I didn't realize it was literally like just them, like, or the point of it or anything until I like just jumped into it or whatever. But
sure.
I didn't know what to expect. I did read like, you mentioned some of the early stuff like the Fantastic Four, 66, like the Cocoon stuff and things like that. But so none of I've never read any of this stuff prior to these last couple of weeks. Awesome. Oh, you know what? No, I lied. I did read X Factor 1 randomly.
Really?
It had to have been we were maybe Omni season 1, or it was so random though, and I was just like, oh, cool. Like I'm reading it might have been before we started the show. I think it was just like, oh, cool. Like we're reading all and I'm getting into X-Men. So here, let me start with another number 1, and I just like read X-Men or X Factor 1. But I really didn't remember. The only thing I remembered was like some of the TV news. I might not even read the whole thing now I think about it. Like,
okay.
I just remember the TV news and like them talking more about how anti-mutant, hate was going on and all that stuff. And I was like, oh, it's just like the movies. Like that was kind of what I was thinking. But no, so yeah, really, I would say all this was pretty brand new to me. So, but yeah, I mean, I it's cool to hear, as you're mentioning, the framework being set up using Avengers, using Fantastic Four. Because I was thinking about, I was like, oh, John Byrne was at this time was on Fantastic Four, and he was writing that series. So, I mean, this is really cool, and probably stuff I'd like to bring up to Chris Claremont at some point, or I'd frame it in a certain way. But just like kind of bring it up. I think it's really fascinating. But yeah, no, okay. This was good.
Bearded Combro says he earns a point just for being a guest and being forced to read the book we made him read. So that's an interesting way to say it. Apocalypse was supposed to be the owl. I had not heard that, but that's very interesting. The issue number 1's from New Universe. Oh man, wow, that's painful stuff. We got Foxtastic in the chat saying Claremont did not care that what they did with Bobby, Warren, and Hank. They had been in New Defenders for a couple of years. It's only Scott and Jean he cared about.
That's true. Right. People were talking about how they actually canceled that book to free up Bobby, Warren, and Hank for funny. X Factor. So, and then of course Claremont's biggest fear of what they're going to do with the legacy of Cyclops. I don't want everything that Claremont didn't want to happen to Cyclops happened.
The legacy of Cyclops. Come on. Season 7 of Dazzler. That's good. Let's see. Was Busiek not writing Power Man and Iron Fist in '86? He might have been. I don't know.
Well, he had pitched this idea to Byrne prior to that, years prior. So
the haters have shown up, but have the supporters of Cyclops shown up? I haven't seen any of those. Shakes his walking cane at Justin. You youngin. Yeah, I get it. Drew Manchu says Claremont did so much for the X-Men, but his continuity is too precious to him. Superhero comics have to evolve through other creators' ideas. You're not wrong. Not wrong. Maddie equals most justified villain origin ever. Honestly, how did every Cyclops girlfriend not turn out evil? Well, I mean, he did flip Emma Frost to maybe more of a heroine, so maybe he made up for it with Emma, later on. But let's dive in, gang. Like I mentioned, all the links for these gentlemen and others are down below, so definitely check out some of that. We're going to dive into the X Factor look back. This is generally, we're talking beginning of '86, depending on which issues we're talking about. Bob Layton and Jackson, I've heard it as Geese or Geis. I'm not sure, as the main artist, but we'll get into Mark Silvestri and others as well. But these are the first 2 issues. These are the preview issues that sort of launched the title. The Avengers issue where they find the cocoon, deal with the cocoon, and then the Fantastic Four issue where they open the cocoon and deal with the woman on the inside. Any thoughts on these covers, Justin? Looking at these covers, I don't know if you've ever seen these books before.
Yeah, so I do have the Fantastic Four issue just because when I first was collecting comics, I went after all the John Byrne FF in newsstands. So it was cool to know that I had already gotten that one. I do not have Avengers this issue here. I'm going to have to hunt that down though, just to have as part of the collection because it all just fits nice. So I mean, I do think the Fantastic Four cover definitely obviously just plays right into more Dark Phoenix saga for anybody looking for that, or ever was a fan. Like that's certainly going to catch anybody's attention there. So it is certainly a beautiful cover. This one, it's accurate. I think it's the perspective of it and the focus that's being on the cocoon, which as it should. I mean, it is the unique thing going on in the issue, but I don't know. It just kind of falls short for me. I don't know if it's just the background's so bland, even though I get it. They're underwater and they're swimming to this thing, but I don't know, just not necessarily a cover for me, but yeah, the story was good.
I mean, let's be fair. The cocoon does look like it has nipples. I mean, I don't know what kind of design they're going for a cocoon. I don't know that that's what I would call a cocoon. And JP, good. Keep Drew Manchu in line. If he's supporting Cyclops, it's perfect that we can moderate him. That's what we need right now. Biggie Chic is trying to make some comedy here. If you're saying it's the new Amazing Spider-Man because Amazing Spider-Man is not fun to read right now, then yes. Oh, shots fired. Ryan, what are your thoughts on these covers? Any nostalgia kick for you? Any joy you can get from these books?
So as a fan, we definitely knew before these issues came out that it was going to be Jean Grey. I don't remember how that got announced or whatever, but it was confirmed, and we knew as fans that this is going to be Jean and this is where it was going to start. So the excitement I remember thinking, oh, next month that book is coming out. And these came out a week apart. The Avengers came out, and then FF was a week later. Cover-wise, I love the FF. The Avengers is okay.
Yeah. And that's about where I am with them as well. I do love them as a two-parter, this kind of setup, and we can dive into the interior artwork and the discussion. I just sort of picked some of the highlights. Obviously, I love the big explosion at the airport that leads the Avengers under the water to discover, I don't know, what starts as a weird-looking piece of an artifact of some kind, and then becomes a giant pill that they then take back to their lab, and the mist clears a little bit just for the reader to see the woman on the inside. That's kind of the highlights for me of the Avengers book. The FF book obviously has a little more substance with Jean awakening and remembering what may have gone down with her and the Phoenix Force, and flashing back to those last few moments, and really just in a horrible space, even going so far as to recover that orb that we've seen repeatedly in different issues of X-Men, where even Rachel had a chance to kind of look at the essence of Jean that was kind of trapped inside of there. And when Jean holds it up, she does her classic fainting moment where she just sort of collapses. It's just, the calamity. It's too much to handle. But that's all I really captured from the two issues. I was just curious, Justin, how that read for you, how these two books kind of worked for you as a setup.
Yeah, so I really like that it brought us to Avengers and into FF, because these are characters that, especially this era, I have not read a ton of. I mean, especially Avengers. I just never read, never gone back to take the time to read a lot of that. So to hear, Submariner, Namor just getting kind of involved and teamed up with the Avengers for the first time, and how some of the team members on the team at that moment were like, kind of uncomfortable with it, and like, man, this guy's got to loosen up a little bit. Like, it was just a cool, like, different direction for me, and just getting exposure to some of these characters that I really enjoy, just haven't read from this time period. I also was cracking up at is it Hercules? Or
That's Hercules at the top there.
Yeah. So just like, again, very similar to Namor and how they spoke, and Thor, and fell into all that. But I was just like, man, there's a lot of characters like that, at least in this, like in this era, and with Avengers and kind of coming through between him, Thor, and Namor. But yeah, again, it was I thought it was a cool experience just to get a little bit of a little taste of some of these Avenger characters and things like that from this time. John Byrne artwork, like some of the page and panels that you have here were just gorgeous. Happy to see obviously Jean come back. And I guess, like, for me with this, it didn't really click for me on how big of a deal. It makes sense, as you guys are talking about, how big of a deal, like, even the rumors of, like, could they do that? Are they going to bring him back? Like, it's still just kind of like, I'm starting to realize it now. Like I'm just so used to her being around because it's just how it's been. And some people say, well, it's comics and no one really dies and all that other stuff. But like, at that time she was gone and there was no plan to bring her back. So it is cool to like put your mindset into that way of thinking of that time and just being like, dang, like they did it. I mean,
it was 70 issues of comics since her death, right? 70 issues of comics is a long time to have a character be deceased, at least in comic books time.
Totally. And someone to her level, like, I mean, such a major character with a huge, with the fan base that she has, like, it's just like a big deal. So, but yeah, no, I enjoyed these for what they were, just kind of going through. Again, I didn't feel like I needed to, read things prior or was too confused with anything. I thought it from a newer reader perspective, I thought it was nicely done.
For sure. Drew Manchu is trying to make some bold Cyclops statements. We'll see how alpha he is here in a little bit when we first get to see him in the X Factor, because I don't feel that way. JP says it's blocking the rules comment too. Apparently the algorithm really blocks those Cyclops love, the lies. Yeah, sure. Phoenix sequence written by Claremont, drawn by Geese to Burns' chagrin. Okay, interesting. Let's see. Heroes for Hire. What's up, Matt? Good to see you in the chat. Thanks for coming by, my friend. I mean, Cyclops is totally the type of guy that social media would cover of how much of an alpha he is. That's fair. That's fair. He's part of the manosphere. Let's be fair. What about you, Ryan? Any thoughts on these? The Avengers reveal, and then the FF awakening of Jean Grey.
I think what I remember at that time is, how will we first see her, or what will she look like? What is she wearing? And this right now throws me back to when you guys did the Omni X-Men episodes of like 98, 99, and 100. And I remember saying in the chat, and you put my comment on screen saying, Jean, if you only know how long you're going to be wearing that dress.
Right?
That's a wash and wear, hopefully. So, because you're going to be wearing that for years.
For sure.
It just was fun. I like that they drew back to the orb, the essence of Jean.
Yeah.
Which, as you've mentioned, John, has been used many times, but it's great for her to know that existed.
Yeah.
So
Wolverine changing her dress from restricting to practical. Yeah. Well, then I guess we'll dive right into X Factor. Here, we're going to just spend a little time here on the first 4 issues of the 8 issues we're going to discuss tonight. I have seen these covers so many times, absolutely just feel like I've read these books a million times. I'm curious, Justin, what are some of your thoughts on these covers?
Yeah, so seeing issues 2, 3, and 4, I just would have thought I would have seen or recognized them. As I flipped through this, I'm like, I've never seen this book before. I've never seen this book. I was like, wow, these are, I just feel like they're so early, part of, the beginning of X Factor issues that I would have assumed that I, had taken time to see them and look at them, or at least, or going digging. But now I guess I just never really bothered to look through the X Factor bin. It might be part of it. Just because I didn't really know it and didn't know what I was getting into with it. But like I said, just one from what I can really recall and recognize, and being on the front of covers and stuff like that. But I mean, a lot of action. They're a bit noisy. They're one I think is the one that stands out to me the most. 2, 3, and 4 are nothing necessarily that stands out to me. I would say I do kind of like the perspective of 4 and all the lines of the beams and everything being shot in the same direction from the one angle. But
I might have actually put 3 in the corner there. 4 is the one with
3?
Beast.
Okay,
yeah, because 4. If you look closely at 3 with the lines, Beast is wrapped like a mummy, and then 4 is when his foot is flying at Frenzy because he's now human. Right. He's deferred. As it were. Yeah.
So that's. I mean, otherwise, I think this is the only one, and even this one it's noisy. I don't love it by any means, but I do think that
a lot of orange. Really if you look, it's kind of funny. They all look like they're sunset, except for the farthest one, except for 3. The others have a very orange palette.
Yeah, it's a great point.
Yeah. So Candace wasn't familiar with these either. Foxtastic saying Rachel and Maddie are Jean's character bifurcated, and her return makes Claremont write them out, but also forces him to make them more distinct later on. That's interesting. Cyclops' terrible choice makes for great drama, enough to power 40 issues. I mean, you're true. Look, that's the juice right there. Obviously, Cyclops' flaws are driving the engine of these issues for certain, and some people who really like him might be drawn into that drama. Others might be hugely disappointed by him and frustrated with him, like me. Ryan, thoughts on these covers?
One is iconic to me, and
for sure,
that is a cover I do remember seeing with Jean Grey. You couldn't tell who it was, and it was one of those teasers of who is the 5th member of X Factor, and you couldn't tell. 2, I think, is my least favorite out of these 4 covers. But, even though I own these issues, I haven't looked at them in a long time. And when I was going through in the last, month or 2, getting ready for this show and looking through, I was kind of like, oh, I'd forgotten about that. Like the issue 4 with Beast jumping, totally forgot about that one.
I mean, I have read these so many times. My brother was obsessed with X Factor. He's kind of a jerk like Cyclops, but he shared his books, so I appreciated that. I do remember, I loved the blue furry beast, so I was very disappointed to see him go back to the skin toned version. But I do love that cover where his feet are flying at Frenzy. I thought that was a cool perspective. I was disappointed that Beast wrapped as the Mummy gets so little play on that cover. He's put in such a tiny spot, you might even overlook that he's on the cover. So that perspective kind of frustrated me, although I do like the idea that they're rescuing and protecting him. I get that function, although I don't know what Angel's going to do flying up there. And of course, as we'll get into it, for me, easily the worst, just most bland villains. Like Tower and Frenzy are just, it's like they took a character's design out of Mad Max and then gave them the most boring powers ever. It's like they are so bland on these covers that the best villain on the cover is ultimately Rusty, who we're rescuing. He's actually a good guy. He's setting the giant fire there. So yeah, what are you gonna do? But yeah, I agree with you. Cover number 1 is easily the winner. Let's dive into the interior. So these are, I'm going to just kind of go through the setup for X Factor 1 through 4, and then we can skip back and forth as you guys want. But yeah, we meet Rusty, who is a young mutant who has no control over his fire powers, and he ultimately kills a woman at the very beginning of the story. And then we skip around to kind of see where our original X-Men are. They're living under the charity of Warren Worthington, who really doesn't seem to have a care in the world. Beast is going to a job interview to potentially be a professor, and Iceman's thinking about going back to school. Turns out there's an emergency because Jean Grey is back from the dead. So, Reed Richards calls them to come in. I have that little airport scene where mutants are clearly so hated they're throwing things at Angel as he flies through the airport. They call up Scott, and Scott is the typical douche where he's like, "Oh, Jean's alive? Sorry, wife, I gotta go, and I'm not going to tell you why." And he just takes off. Like that is legitimately what these 6 panels show. That is it. So defend it all you want, Drew Manchu. That's your boy. That's your alpha male right there. I'm going to run off, leave my wife and kid, who I really, as far as I've seen in the comics, he's never held. I'm going to run off now and find Jean. Then he finds Jean, and he's very quickly like, I don't know how I feel about this. I can't commit to you or Maddie. I've got so many emotions, my emotions. And Jean, on the other hand, is like, you guys suck now. What happened since we used to be friends? You guys drive me crazy. Everybody's telling, secrets, and nobody's talking to me about anything. I'm just going to destroy Warren's hotel room that he gave me, and just knocks out a full. I love that panel where she blasts out the entire window of the apartment that they're staying in. Then we jump into issue 2, and Jean is having nightmares. She's struggling with the memories of what she's gone through, and we meet Artie. Gang, look, I love Arthur. Artie is a fan favorite for me, and I'm so excited every time I see him on panel. He is just the sweetest little poor kid who's taken advantage of in so many ways, and doesn't speak, but has this incredible ability to project memories and visions in people's minds. We also learned that Warren Worthington has a business casual attitude to what he wears around the office, because my guy, there are people here and you are employing them. Why are you in a bathrobe and tidy whities walking around all the time? This happens constantly in these books. Warren, I get it. You like your abs and you're putting in the work. I don't want to shame you for putting in the work, but do we all need to see it? I'm just saying.
I have a question.
I mean, we'll get to questions. Okay. We'll get to questions. I just want to make sure I've gotten okay. Lastly, of course, we have the storyline where Beast is captured and scientists experiment on him and barely keep him alive. And he turns back into his old version of himself with apparently a brand new spiky hairdo. We meet characters like Frenzy and Tower, and Artie comes to their rescue and basically, at different moments dresses up in the most adorable outfit and runs around the city of New York to try to help them. Just too cute. We get to see them in their X Factor outfits because they, of course, have to pretend to be mutant hunters, but really be mutant capturers who are helping mutants with their abilities. And that's it. So we'll back it up here. And I haven't thrown it to Ryan first yet. So Ryan, questions, thoughts on these first 4 issues?
Question: how does Warren put that robe on with those wings?
So many questions. All of his outfits have to have holes in the back, right?
Yeah.
Somewhere. Right.
And you have to get the winds through somehow.
Also true.
I'm thinking Velcro.
Oh, yeah. Comments in the chat I wanted to get to. Sorry, before Ryan. Cyclops told his family he was going to the store to get milk and never came back. Shakes my head. I get it. Yeah. We got Jeff, the Cantonese comic kid, in the chat. What's going on, Jeff? There are 2 super hot, redheaded, beautiful women who are absolutely identical. Scott went 2 for 2. Did he, though? Because it kind of shows he's going 0 for 2 in this storyline. Let's just put it that way. How convenient that Hank gets deferred, is it? Tower kind of looks like the good old guy Magneto. Yeah, I mean, Tower looks like the bad guy in I Come in Peace. If you have seen that 90s action movie with Dolph Lundgren, that's what he looks like to me. We got Mark in the chat. What's going on, Mark?
Mark?
Glad to see you here, sir. What else do we expect from Cyclops, says Candace? I mean, fair, right? Stick a pin in it and this when we get to the Inferno retcon. This is fair. Found Fox, I do agree. Poor Maddie, right? Clones are people too. We got Stu from Dr. Doom's fan club. What's going on? Ooh. Summers being Summers. Fact. There it is. There it is. Actually, really the kid cast of this book. He had the original, got a shiny facsimile, and then got back to the original out. It was spine ticks. He didn't remember. Oh, yeah. That's how he's treating his women, right? Like they're collectibles. Total alpha male move. It's a diaper. Warren's wearing a diaper. That's what it is. I get that. I totally agree with this. I hate the look of spiky beast hair.
This was weird.
All right. So sorry, Ryan. Back to you. Thoughts on the X Factor early issues here?
Okay. So I wish that we would have seen more of the initial reunions with Jean and each one of these characters. Right. That's where I feel that they missed out on.
Yep.
One thing that I wanted to say, I said when we got back to this part that I would take a little behind the scenes. So the team that wrote this first issue turned it into Shooter. He said, redo everything.
Oh.
And they only had days to get this done. And I mean, it had to be rewritten, redrawn. They were in some hotel room with some type of hurricane that hit New York City or something. And these people were holed up in this hurricane. They say all they remembered from that was hotel staff giving them tape, saying tape the windows and good luck. And so they rewrote what became this story, and Shooter accepted it. And then they did the second issue. Shooter did the same thing. Didn't accept any of it. You have to rewrite and redraw everything. And that's when they realized they don't know how to make him happy on this title. And that's why you saw turnover on this title so fast. So that's what was kind of going on behind the scenes.
Because it was like 4 issues in when it went over to Simonson. Gene,
Louise. Yeah.
Louise took over about 5 issues in, right?
Yeah. And that's kind of the behind the scenes on why. As I said, I would have liked to have seen Gene's reunion with each one of these people, you know,
given its own little moment and its own, because they all
I want to see the reaction when Reed Richards calls and says she's alive. Yeah. That's what I want to see.
That like rushed right through.
Yeah. Also, you have to depower Jean at this point because she can't read people's thoughts, because that takes away the Madeline situation instantly, and that takes away the tension. So you have,
because if she could read Scott's mind, she would know he was married and what he was thinking about.
Yes, right? But I can't help but also she's got to,
because they wanted to draw that out over 8 issues. He won't tell. Spoiler: he won't tell his,
which is crazy,
old
but
girlfriend
nobody will tell her,
or his current wife for 8 comics. That's bonkers. That is bonkers.
Yeah.
Yikes. I wrote in my notes real quick. I wrote in my notes at the top, Scott is a piece of work. That's all I wrote.
I thought you were going to change out the word work for something else, but okay.
I mean, I would think Jean would be going, why aren't we stirring the spaghetti sauce? You know, I mean, what's going on?
She's too busy destroying hotel rooms.
She is. And then we have I don't know if this is the place to get into it or not, but the exterminators.
Yeah.
You know, the facade. And I'm like, rereading that, I was like, I don't know about this.
Yeah.
Fair point, Jackson.
I don't know. What did you guys think about that?
I mean, I think the at the core of the book, at least for a hot minute, is the idea that they have an element that they're presenting to the world and an element that they're hiding from the world. And that balance of like, this is what we're selling, this is where our commercials are, and this is what people think of us, and this is what we're really doing behind the scenes. They're trying to make, lemonade out of the lemons of people hating and being scared of mutants. And their way of doing that is this artifice. Now, whether you like it is a different scenario, but I think it's an interesting concept that had never been done before, but I don't know that it works particularly well. But that's
if I was
opinion.
a mutant and knew that X Factor or the exterminators are coming after me,
right,
that instantly is going to cause the tension that they don't want. And they do allude to that in like one of the issues or something like that.
Yeah.
They start questioning, are we doing the right thing by doing this? And then they're taking money from people that hate mutants to really not do the job that they promised.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Well, but that leads to some funny moments, like when the guy who the sailor who calls them to get Rusty, they drop this huge bill on him.
Yeah.
That they're like, you got to pay this bill. And the guy's like, oh crap. Yeah. And they do the same thing to J. Jonah Jameson when he hires them to catch Spider-Man. I think there is some function to that story-wise that I'm entertained by, even if it doesn't necessarily make a whole lot of sense, maybe.
Yeah.
That's probably the best. Yeah, that's how I would put it. Is I was very entertained by it. I had very mixed feelings with the concept of it, and I don't think I realized that's that is what X Factor was all about. As I was reading into this, like, oh wow, like this is like a business and it's marketing and there's so many things that could go wrong here with this stuff. And there were things that went wrong. Some of it, John, to your point, that were like funny or entertaining or that worked out in a way, but there was other aspects of it too that were just like I just feel like if you sat in a room and wrote out all the pros and cons, like you would have just like hit all these issues so early and be like, wait, but like they can't, if they're in an action scene, they can't jump into fighting. If they're attacked by mutants, like they are, this alliance or whatever their name was, they can't just use their powers. They have to be like acting like, well, we don't have powers, so I guess we're just going to take it or whatever. Like, you didn't think this out though, like that's a big factor to think about.
And something else I honestly did not understand was I was under the assumption that the world knew that Warren is Angel. I mean, I've thought that for quite some time.
Yeah, that's fair too. Yeah.
But when they're seeing Angel as these renegade mutants that supposedly are not the exterminators, and some of them can be seen in the exterminator outfits and some can't. I mean, it's clear that that's Angel and that's Warren, and Warren's known to be a mutant. I just didn't understand how that worked.
Yeah, I think they would probably say, it's just comics.
Yeah.
Which is a way of saying we didn't write it very well. We didn't really figure that out. He's too busy walking around in his tidy whities. So Justin, I guess, did you have thoughts on any of the plot here in these issues? I think you kind of gave your general thoughts on some of these first few issues, but Beast and his transformation, or little Artie or Rusty or any of these characters.
Yeah, so like I definitely, these Rusty and Artie are the angles of the idea of X Factor that I do like, and I could see where that side of it, they say, hey, this works because there are people out there that need our help, and these are some perfect examples that if the X Factor didn't do what they do, they might be dead by now or in trouble or whatever. And so that's where I am truly just entertained by the idea of it, because I'm so conflicted. There are so many things I say, well, this is dumb. And then there's so many sides where I'm like, well, it's pretty good actually. So I'm very conflicted with this, but some of the other small stuff, like, didn't like Beast. I wasn't expecting, I didn't realize that Beast had gone back like this. And the hairdo, it didn't feel like Beast. Like, it just felt like the close-up of his face here. Like, like, who's that guy? Like, oh yes, well, the blue hair really was the only thing that made
and you probably haven't read the Silver Age or original issues very many where he is like this, right? Because it's after he leaves the X-Men that ultimately later in that he gets the blue furry,
like the Avengers. And
as as an Avengers fan, that's how I first saw him, was as furry Beast. So for me, this was like, what happened? What happened? It's like when the Beast in Beauty and the Beast becomes a normal looking man at the end, and you're like, oh, he looks weird now. Why does he look like that?
throws everything off. Yeah. I do like that. Again, going back to just like, I mean, you know, from this journey of Omni X-Men, these are characters. I mean, like Bobby is a character I haven't really gotten, you know, a large experience with through this time period. And so to visit the, other than like, you know, some of the oddball issues where they fight each other or they're you know, hypnotized or they're robots or whatever, but like to really be the key feature of, you know, characters of this book, it was cool to again just experience them. Angel a bit more. We've had some with Angel before, but and I feel like in those previous issues, like Angel's just did literally nothing. I remember some of our joke slides of him like literally just being the worst because he didn't do much. But I don't think he's as bad here.
Doing a lot here. He's doing a lot. He's paying for everything, walking around in underwear, and trying to hook up with Jean.
Well, so that's what I wanted to point out too. Was like do it. Is there something there? Because I mean, just even in these first 4 issues, I know we'll get to more in later, but like just these first 4, I was like, oh, like he's, you know, is he like he's hesitant here? Why is he like, oh, okay, oh, that's where I'm like, oh, maybe there was a fling in the original Stan Lee run or that I didn't know about. So I just kind of went with it.
In the original run, the biggest flaw for me in the original run from the Silver Age is that everybody at some point says they're crushing on Jean. All the characters, including Professor Xavier, they all have a moment where they say they're crushing on Jean. It's like the worst design for a comic book.
Yeah.
Scott, Bobby, Angel, Beast, and Xavier all mentioned that they are loving it. It is stupid and disturbing on so many levels that they had no idea what they were doing as far as the love story goes. So that this brings vibes of those early Silver Age issues that give me all the icks.
Yeah. And the other thing was Warren had Candy Sutherland, right? Like she's great. Love Candy.
Candy was awesome, man.
Girl. Yeah. And I'm like, what do you even need? Like, why are you even, you know, looking elsewhere?
And he instantly, literally flies across the country when he finds out Jean's alive. And he's like, sweet. Don't tell Scott.
Yeah. Like what? And then the whole thing was Scott. I mean, you already like, you know, hit it on the head, but I just was like, as I'm reading this, I mentioned my notes, right? I said, Scott is a piece of work. And after I actually wrote, this is after I read like 2 issues. I was starting like, let me just take some notes down. And I wrote right after that, I said, doesn't even say anything through 2 issues.
No.
Then I read the 3rd issue and I had to edit it to say, didn't say anything through 3 issues. Then I edited it again through 4, through 5, through 6. It was like unreal. I could not believe it. My dog is
wild.
That's how upsetting it is.
Preach, doggy, preach. Like it's fair.
Unreal. So it really is obnoxious, and shame on Ryan. You pointed this out slightly. Shame on the rest of them too, because none of them said anything. And I think if that's truly a friend of yours, you say something to her. You know?
Yeah, you do.
And the ring, like, doesn't he wear his ring? Like, wouldn't you see the ring?
Apparently not. Apparently he palmed it. I don't know.
Or you say to him, if you don't tell her, I will.
Right.
Yeah. Right.
I love the. Sorry, there's some great comments going on in the chat here.
Yeah, hit him
I live in hotels, tear out the walls. I have Warren Worthington pay for it all. That's good. Bob Harris is promoted to editor with issue 3, an important moment for X history. They all say in one issue that they all loved Jean. Yes, she's the only girl around. It's not an excuse. That's bad. That's bad news. The dog sounds like they might be trying to defend Psych. No, it's not. How dare you say that, Matt? How dare you? Waiting for Artie to make a telepathic image of Maddie and their baby. I mean, that's what Artie should be doing. Jean, just so you know.
Doesn't that happen at one point?
There's a baby mama. Yes. Stuff's happening. We'll get there.
Yeah.
It's weird that first instinct is to give Beast and Jean power downgrades. Simonson will go in the opposite direction with Angel and Bobby. This is true. Well, I agree that the others don't say anything. It was Scott's job. Sure. I mean, I agree that like
I understand.
Warren and Bobby and Hank are not responsible for giving the bad news to Jean. But once it's evident that Scott's not going to do it, then as a friend, you owe her that much. That's how I feel about this.
I agree.
If you can't convince Scott if you can't convince Scott to get his S together, then I believe you owe Jean the bare minimum of honesty as her friend. Mm-hmm. Whether you're trying to bang her on the side or whatever, Warren, walking around in your tighty whities. Yeah, question marks. Lots of questions. Well, let's get into the other 4 issues a little bit. So again, I have these out of order just because obviously the Cyclops cover is, the Apocalypse cover is kind of the cover. But this is 6, and then 5 is down below, and then 7, and then 8 is the farthest one here. So I'll throw it back to Justin. Like, any thoughts on these covers? Are there any of these that you're like, oh, I totally love and have seen these, or you're like, I've never seen these covers before? What the heck?
Yeah, so I did. I definitely knew 5 and 6, and I think 5 was a book I picked up early on too, just from when I was first going after characters and trying to find more. And I had made you had said send me this the info, the money info,
the prices,
his first appearance, and I said, here you go for X Factor 5. And you're like, oh,
yeah, you're like, didn't even say X Factor 6. I'm like, I kind of need 6.
I was like, oh, I said, oh, do you want his 3rd appearance too? Is what I said.
Yeah, right.
But no, yeah, like these are, I mean, 5 and 6, I think are pretty awesome, covers, and 5 definitely the white background like pops. Just seeing the action between again, I didn't know these characters. I think maybe that would be one thing to kind of knock it down a notch, just not being as interested to be like, ooh, they're all fighting these random people. Yeah. Who are these? Sure. But then just the idea of introducing Apocalypse and everything in the in issue 6 is definitely a big deal. In what the far one there, I thought was Bane for a second when I saw the big arms. I couldn't, like, from back here it kind of looked like,
well, and you're getting Mark Silvestri. Now we're getting a new artist on that issue. The others are all still Jackson, but Mark Silvestri comes in on 8.
Okay, yeah. But the other 2 are, I mean, they're loud. They don't stand out to me as much. I guess they're fine.
Yeah.
You get more.
What about you, Ryan? Any thoughts on these covers? Any of them mean anything to you or frustrate you?
I'm not the biggest Apocalypse fan.
I know you're not.
So, and I'm really trying to pretend that he's not going to be all about X-Men 97 season 2 starting next month. But I do like Justin said, the white background. I like that cover, and I like the cover with the Freedom Force Mystique and stuff. So
yeah,
I don't seem, and correct me if I'm wrong on this, but I don't think that there was like a moment with either Blob or Jean where like Jean is like, you're still around or something, I think they needed something like that,
because these are villains that have seen her many times, right?
Yeah. Or him going, I thought you were dead, or whatever, something like that. So
yeah,
but I like the 2 covers, the white background and Mystique.
Okay, Justin, sorry, you want to say something there?
No, I was just muting myself because Jax is still upset about
I mean, I adore this cover, and I love the layout of issue 6. The face screaming in the center. What a great way to have like a full appearance of a villain, and then all the heroes kind of like doing that classic Marvel, we're dancing, or are we getting pain, or are we flying through the air? Like I'd like all of it. And I've seen homages to that cover that I thought were great as well. Obviously I've got my 9/8 of it right back there, so I'm biased financially, I suppose, but I just think it's a great cover. And having read these issues as much as I did as a kid, it was always a cover that I was like, yes, let's get to that. Ultimately for me, it's my favorite cover of the first 8. Like, it's the one that I think of the most when I think of X Factor. And it's not just because I like Apocalypse, although at this time I don't love him as much as I do when we get into like the 90s and beyond. But I just love it. What a great villain first appearance cover. It really works for me. It reminds you of Ultron. I can dig that. I'm down for that. Apocalypse is the best X-villain of the 80s, and Simonson's version is the best. Ooh, there we go. Bold take. Well, let's get into some of the interior artwork here. Obviously, got to see Warren in his underwear again, but now he's convinced everybody to join him. Like everybody's in their underwear now. Like let's all just be in our underwear. And then of course we have the villains that we now know are working with Apocalypse, right? We have Frenzy and Tower, and there is at play a mutant who has the ability to kind of like juice up other mutants and amplify their abilities. And he is at the center of what Apocalypse is trying to accomplish. So there's your cameo appearance of Apocalypse. He says his name and he's kind of in shadow and he's got his fist, held in anger. And then issue 6, you have both teams trying to capture this one gentleman and take him as their own, whether to use him or whether to protect him and train him. You have this gentleman who is amplifying several different mutants' abilities. And of course, Apocalypse himself shows up, and there's something of a brawl between these two teams as they go to town. And then lastly, we get the team sort of training Jean back to what she used to be and trying to determine where her power levels are now that she doesn't have telepathy. She has telekinesis only and can move and control things with her mind to a very impressive degree. You get to see them kind of trying to see how strong her powers are. Meanwhile, you have what we've kind of alluded to before, which is the idea that they have these two identities: the X-Factor, where they're in the blue suits and they go and try to capture or kill mutants, and then you have the mutant characters that we know them as out in the world trying to protect mutants. And so you have this moment when several characters like Rusty have to dress up and pretend to be X-Factor while the original mutants are dressing up as themselves. And there's this like gimmick that's at play here where they're pretending, some of them are pretending to have powers when they don't even have powers, just to be able to be like in the same place at the same time. You also have Jean really being frustrated that we've gone 8 issues now and Scott still won't tell me shit. So you finally have this moment here where Jean is like, now that we're down in a freaking sewer, you're going to tell me about your kid and your baby mama. Screw you, buddy. I'm done with your shenanigans, because she's a person of character and he ain't. So that's pretty much what I got, from these issues. I'll throw it to Ryan, I guess, again, first this time. Haven't had many times to go first, Ryan. I know you're not an Apocalypse guy, but thoughts on kind of the way they're using the X-Factor design here in these issues.
Whatever that contraption is when Warren is the exterminator, that box on his back looks ridiculous.
It is funny.
Just, that is crazy.
I agree. Yeah.
It looks like he's got a mattress strapped to his back, and maybe he does.
There were a few.
It's very conspicuous.
Yeah, there were a few scenes where I was like, "What is? Oh, right, that's supposed to be that backpack thing." Yeah. Very odd. Yeah.
He's got to hide the wings, man. Got to hide them wings.
I mean, I'm glad that Jean finally found out. Obviously that should have happened before. Apocalypse not being the biggest fan of the character, he's really not like the Apocalypse that I don't care for so much in these early appearances. So I got through these issues pretty easy. I did like the end issue with Freedom Force, Mystique, and Blob and those villains. So
yeah, I didn't grab many pictures of
okay.
them. I was focused on stuff.
So that's kind of where I was with that.
I'm freezing up here. I think I'm freezing up.
You're good. We see you.
No mention of, I haven't focused too much on Cameron Hodge. He's the gentleman who's kind of the business side of X-Factor. He's the one doing the commercials and kind of guiding them. Obviously, he's a character who does flip evil later in some stories, and I don't want to ruin any of that too much. But yeah, this is when we first see Cameron for sure. What about this scene here, Ryan? Because obviously there's some great dialogue here as far as Jean saying, she says, Scott, don't torture us both like this. She's your wife. How can you just walk out on her? How can you abandon your own son? The Scott I knew wouldn't, and he wouldn't have taken advantage. Advantage? Oh, come on. You knew I couldn't read minds anymore, and you used it to keep your marriage a secret from me. Gene, I wanted to tell you. I tried. Oh, sure. If I hadn't figured it out for myself and tricked the others into confirming what I feared, what I knew, what I wouldn't let myself believe, I'd still be throwing myself at you, and you'd be laughing your fool head off. Gene, preach, girl, preach.
Mm-hmm.
I love all of that.
I don't know what else to say. You know, I mean, her anger is justified. So
big time,
right?
He's quite awful. He is. Awful.
Yeah. What about you, Justin? Any thoughts here on? I don't know, underwear or apocalypse or juicing up mutants? I don't know. What do you got?
Yeah, so I agree with when Ryan talked about Apocalypse. Definitely not like the character that I've, come to read now, and with Hickman and everything else. And obviously, there's a lot of characters that have changed.
Right.
But I just wasn't sure what to expect, and for him being it's kind of the first few appearances. I don't know. I guess I maybe I had the bar a little higher than what we got here, or I don't know. But
sure.
But I do get. He's still like the man, right, compared to his peers and everything else. But like it was kind of hard to get into these other villains, the Alliance. I did find it interesting that this whole story around that other mutant that kind of was almost like a drug, as he was hooked on drugs, he was like kind of the drug to these others. So it was an interesting concept for that mutant, and I was like trying to think like, oh, did they use him later? Is he, does he show up in the Hickman era?
I got the sense that he almost like dies in this issue, like these issues.
Yeah,
he basically like is like on the brink of death. I don't know that they officially kill him, but he's on the brink of death several moments through this.
Yeah, there were definitely a few moments in these issues where I was just like, "Oh, this is a little darker than I think I was expecting," or just the topics or the subjects that were at hand. But trying to think if there was anything else that really stood out.
How are you feeling about Frenzy and Tower and some of these absolutely ridiculous villains?
Yeah, just wasn't. I mean, they were just so bland,
right?
They were just so simple and bland, and like, just the fact that they got extra strong or whatever from the other mutant,
or extra big, or what?
Yeah, like I was like, okay, like they're supposed to be hard to beat now. That's okay, I get that, but like, I don't know, it just was not anything interesting to me. Those characters, at least, I was more just wrapped up in the whole, Jean and her struggles with and finding out, the way she does, and Cyclops just being the piece of work that he is. Like, it's just crazy. It's just because I don't know.
Jean, in some ways, Jean is Jean and Scott's love, but certainly Jean is the centerpiece of these books. Even when they're doing issues about Hank getting transformed into not having his blue fur, like it still seems like the focus is Jean.
Yes, yeah, for sure. The other thing was you talk about yes. So yep.
Oh goodness.
With the panels that you have here, just again more of the different angles of X Factor and their job. Like this did seem like a lot of work to have your other team members
to maintain this like illusion.
Yeah. So that was Oh, and then you brought up Cameron briefly. The one thing I had noted about him was that he kind of reminded me or made me think of like him being the new Professor X, in that he would yell at everybody to come meet him at the headquarters, or it's on the over.
We got a mission. Get over here, gang.
Yeah. I'm like, that reminds. They're used to that. They're used to being yelled at.
Yeah, right. They respond. They do respond quickly. Yeah.
I had never thought of that, but that's a great point.
Yeah,
that's funny. Yeah. Candace says, "Girl, yes, preach, Jean Grey." And then Jackson Roy Kirk is the shoulder for Jean to cry on. I appreciate that. This is a great comment, Jackson. I agree that I think the villains that we get, that ultimately, other than, for me, it's I love Rusty and I love Artie, but other than those two, I feel like a lot of the characters we get are either really bland, like they just don't have any character to them, or they're just buck wild, which is Glowworm and whatever his name is, Bulk or something.
Bulk.
It's like they're just odd without you think about the Marauders, the characters living in the sewers, and how interesting each one of them feels like. They're so well like crafted, these guys feel so buck wild to me. Like they're either glowworm, which I'm like, what is glowworm, or their tower, which is like, aren't you just Giant Man or Goliath at this point? Like, what are you bringing to the table here? So I don't know. I get that. That's a great comment. Fox Sasek says, I just remembered that this week a new What If where Scott stays with Maddie is on. Yes, this is true.
I saw that. I was like, ooh, spoilers. Good thing I just read this stuff.
For sure. All right. Well, if you guys don't have any other thoughts, we'll get to the last 3 issues. No, sorry. Actually, there's the classic X-Men we'll finish with. But these 3 issues are in my omnibus as well. And they basically are X Factor missions where the team is assigned something or other. The annual has the X Factor annual in the middle there has them going to Russia to better understand how Russia is dealing with their mutant problem, because Russia views the X Factor team as exterminators and they're going to come here and they're going to get rid of our problem. And the team is looking at it as a chance to be undercover as like spies almost and rescue mutants. The Amazing Spider-Man issue on the far side there, J. Jonah Jameson hires X Factor to capture Spider-Man, saying, oh, he's got to be a mutant. Let's capture him. And they take the money. Spidey's had a really rough week and he's dealing with a serious concussion. And so they do end up like capturing him, only to realize like, no, we're here to help you. We want you to know people are hunting you. And then they let him go. The Iron Man issue is fascinating. The Iron Man issue has to do with apparently a father whose son is a mutant who was told by, I believe, the Fantastic Four in a previous story, hey, you should get your kid to Xavier because he can help him. And dad never did it. And the kid has continued to really suffer and deteriorate with this very odd frog man that's on his shoulder that is basically a mutant power. And it's a very dark story that I actually really enjoyed. I am going to hunt this book down more than likely because I did really enjoy it. So those 3 issues are in the omnibus. But I guess we can talk a little bit about covers here. Justin, did you have any thoughts on these covers? If you'd seen them before, if there were any of these, you're like, oh, I totally know that book. Or oh, God, what the hell's that?
Yeah, the Amazing Spider-Man book definitely I feel like iconic, especially with the famous border that I know a lot of people have kind of tried to collect them all kind of thing.
For sure.
So yeah, definitely like that one. I did not get a chance to read that one, but I do want to, and I know we could talk a little bit about like the continuation of
sure
where I'm at after. But yeah, didn't get a chance to read that. I did read the X Factor annual, and I did enjoy that. I thought it was a cool concept, bringing it to another country. But trying to use it as a way to say, hey, let's get on the inside here, find out whoever's running this thing. And this was a big twist because the guy running the whole thing was, was a mutant himself. Anyways, we'll talk about it. But from a cover perspective, it's cool. I feel like it kind of matches a lot of the other themes that we've been doing here. It's not like amazing by any means, but again, it's the team working together. You get some cool action sequences and so on and so forth. This one, it looks, I don't know how to describe this one. Like it just looks like it's sloppy. It just looks like it's from a different time period, or just like a cartoonish.
It's like almost 90s. Like it feels like early 90s. Yeah, I know it's an 80s book, but it feels early 90s.
Even the title dress, just looks, I don't know, just like off or cheap. I don't know, like just a lower quality. Yeah. But I agree. And this is another one I mentioned before we started. I got to read about half of this. I was really enjoying it. I do want to read the rest, and I'm sure it's going to be something I'm going to want to hunt down as well. So, but yeah, interesting.
And underrated is the giant ice sculpture of the hammer and sickle of Russia that's in the background of that X Factor annual. I do love the look of that, but it's so easy to overlook because it is a busy cover. What about you, Ryan? Had you read any of these before? Were these first time reads or these covers? Did any of them pop to you?
I have all of these in my collection from the original release. So, nice. But I hadn't reread them in such a long time. I actually enjoyed these 3 books more than most of my reading that I did for this show, which is funny because usually I think the annuals get a reputation of not being as good as the main
Don't tell Justin that. He feels very, very different. I love that Justin is so enthusiastic about annuals.
Yeah, I really like both annuals. And one thing with the X Factor annual that you guys haven't mentioned yet is Russia was also trying to figure out how these exterminators were operating to copy that and have their own version of it.
Yes.
But of course, they can't let out what's really going on. So I just thought that all three of these stories were fun. You know, at the end of the Spider-Man story, Spidey gets a nice, kind of to J. Jonah. And it's just good. They just were fun. I would reread all three of these easily.
Nice.
And enjoy it.
So I will say the 2 annuals I had never read, but of course the Amazing Spider-Man book I've had in my collection since the OG days. Yeah. But the X Factor annual and the Iron Man annual, I agree, were probably 2 of the best single issues for this entire evening of books that we've read. If you guys have not read Iron Man annual number, let me double check, 8,
I think,
and then of course X Factor annual 1. I definitely recommend checking them out. I do think they're great. I'm going to go through a little bit of the story here for everybody so they kind of know what's what. There's Spidey in the first 2 pages there are from Spider-Man. You see Spidey, at one point Jean falls and he thinks she's going to die and he has to rescue her and he passes out. But Jean's like, I can make myself float. I wasn't going to die, like falling off the roof. And then X Factor going back and basically canceling their contract with J. Jonah, saying, screw you, he's not a mutant, we're not collecting him. And J. Jonah just being J. Jonah, and apparently a bright pink suit, like really ahead of his time there, a pink suit. Then you have that the largest panel there, that far one, is from the Russia X Factor issue, and is really a creepy reveal of, did we lose Ryan? A creepy reveal of the experimentations that Russia on their mutant citizens. Really buck wild reveal. And that panel, that splash page is a spectacular one. Then we've got these 3 pages from the Iron Man annual, and the little boy who is being sort of affected by the creepy, I don't know, like Joker Frog character here, who is manifesting basically the powers that the little boy has to alter reality and impact what's going on around him. Spoiler, the boy dies. Like that's the tragic end to the story. You see him kind of in his father's arms and you see them at the funeral site, but the little frog lives. Don't know what's going on. I feel like it's a plot device that was left behind, but it was powerful. And the whole X Factor team being there at the funeral, really meaningful. And I just like Ryan or Justin, one of you guys mentioned earlier the idea that there's some very weighty, heavy stuff going on here, whether Rusty's guilt for killing a woman, like that is huge. Or this kid's journey, or the experiments in Russia. I feel like there's some very heavy stuff happening in these books that I think it adds emotional weight, where Scott Summers, I can't tell my girlfriend about my wife stuff, like doesn't have it for me. So I'm just curious. I'll throw to Justin some of your thoughts on these issues, or anything you want to bring up in Spider-Man, Iron Man, X Factor. You tell me where you want to go.
Yeah, so I'll focus on the X Factor one just because I didn't really get to read the other 2 yet. They do sound great. But yeah, for this one, I had mentioned before, I love the concept of it. Them going into another country, trying to. I mean, we also just forget about other countries a lot of times, right? In these stories that were so pinpointed into Manhattan or in whatever, local areas that we're in for the stories. There's like, oh yeah, no, there's ongoing mutant, focused issues going on in other countries that they need help too. How are they going to be helped as well? And the kind of like plot device to this of the villain that they're after ends up being a mutant, and not just a mutant, but one that can take form and shape of it, very much like Mystique, right? Can copy another character, is so dangerous, and I always love that. That's why I like Mystique so much, is because there's so many cool, tricky storylines that you could create with that type of ability. So to have it here, even though it's with a character I'm not as familiar with, is still so dangerous, and like. It's almost, you still laugh at it after, because you're like, technically he has such an upper hand with, being in on the talking and all the information. Like, how do you lose? Like, how do you fail still, and yet he he manages, the X Factor manages to still defeat this guy. But yeah, just some interesting stuff. But I did really like the concept of this, and I agree. Like, I mean, it's definitely one of my favorite reads of all the ones that we've had before, and I'm very intrigued to check out the Spider-Man annual, or the Spider-Man issue, and finish reading the Iron Man issue as well.
Yeah, for those that are trying to, it's Spider-Man is issue 282. I did not mention that, and then it looked like the Foxtastic is asking the writer for the Iron Man. It's Bob Hara, and then Paul Neary, I believe, is the artist on that issue. The cover, though, for that Iron Man is a Simonson cover. That's a Walt Simonson cover for the Iron Man issue. But yeah, some creepy stuff. I agree, Justin, as far as like the Russian lab and I think the espionage side of it. And somebody even mentioned, who was it? Where's the layouts by Layton in that. The annual, and then somebody mentioned Angel's stealth suit is pretty cool. He does a lot of flying in the Russia storyline for sure. What about you, Lasso? Any thoughts here on these two annuals or the Spider-Man book? What do you want to talk about?
I want to talk about the Iron Man annual. The one thing that I noticed with the little boy is it really felt to me like you've heard the old adage of an angel on one shoulder, a devil on the other, and that this thing was like this little devil that was fighting with his conscience, always trying to get him to do the wrong or the least desirable thing and not the right thing. And that's what I really took away from that story. All of these stories, as I said before, I found really enjoyable and fun.
Yeah, and again, I think the emotional weight was right where I wanted it to be. In the X Factor issues, I think the X Factor issues 1 through 8 didn't necessarily have the emotional weight that these did, except for moments for Rusty or Artie that felt like they were really dealing with the challenges that their mutant powers were bringing. Sorry, Brother Joe, I didn't say hi to you. Station Brother Joe, good to see you, my friend.
Brother Joe.
Foxtastic says that Jackson Geese was, or Geis, I'm not sure, was doing X Factor and New Mutants at the same time. They look very different. X Factor is traditional looking and panel heavy, while New Mutants is more open and inked by Kyle Baker. So there you go. I did not know that he even did New Mutants. So that's the knowledge that I'm needing. Station to Bobby De La Ghetto. What's going on, Bobby G?
Bobby.
Good to see you.
Boggy.
Boggy. Yeah. New nickname for you is Boggy. So I'm glad I read these. I do want other people to read them for sure. And lastly, these are the two classic X-Men issues. If you're looking for the two that are in the omnibus that I'm using, they cover issues 100, which is the new and old team fighting. That's why you get this cover, right? That issue 100 where you have the two teams lined up facing each other. Where at the end, the Blackbird is coming back to Earth and Jean is piloting it. The other one is for issue 138, which has that great, like, you could win that bicycle, or this comic could be worth $1,000, right? And they're like, battling in outer space, right? That's that cover. The value here is basically that you get to see the final moments before Jean dies and goes into the water, and you get to see the final moments before the Phoenix Force passes away at the end of issue 138. So this is some of that interior. This is some of that interior artwork. Classic X-Men, for those that don't know or have never read it, it's basically the original book and the original pages, plus they'll add in a handful of new pages with new artwork, right? So you have Jean here piloting the ship and basically suffering the radiation and and becoming emaciated and kind of dying, and the Phoenix Force coming to her to talk to her and have that conversation, and ultimately come up with this agreement where it creates this cocoon and cocoons her, and then becomes the Phoenix that we see in issue 101 bursting out of the water. That's some of the added material there. The other one is very peculiar. So you have Jean dying and being forced to look back over her life because there's this weird cosmic iron worker. It looks like a carpenter guy. He's in the middle there, who is basically at the edges of the universe when the Phoenix Force is dying. this carpenter ironworker guy basically forces her to look back over her life and reflect on, remember that entire planet you destroyed, remember the things that you've done. You should have some regret for the things that you've done. And she is forced to kind of like reassess her life as she dies. And then, as if he were a god that's able to look into the future, he starts flipping through photographs of her, and he sees Mr. Sinister. He sees Madeline Pryor. He sees the Inferno storyline that's way far away, right? So it's all of these moments looking into the future as he's kind of regretting the tragic life of Jean Grey and the Phoenix.
That is cool.
Yeah.
So you guys can decide kind of how you feel about the necessity to check those out, and the value that they would bring to your reading. I'm a big classic X-Men fan. That's how I first read these books. So I love this stuff. Let me say hello to some other friends in the chat. We got Daryl from Read Your Comics. What's going on, Daryl? Foxtastic says, stick a pin in the second classic X-Men story for Excalibur. There you go. And Brother Joe saying, it reminds me of the day when I used to read. That's what I'm trying to say. Yeah, I get it, man. I get it. It's important to remember the stories that will bring us the joy that we're here to talk about, right?
Yeah, we appreciate you, Brother Joe.
Yeah, man. Ryan, I don't know. Had you read either of these classic X-Men books before?
I have. It had been a while since I had read them. That end splash of the shuttle right there, and then I Am Phoenix. Oh my gosh.
I knew you were going to want me to talk about it, so I made sure I had that one in there for you.
That could be a cover. I mean, to me,
it should be a poster, ultimately.
Yeah, it should be a poster, but I mean, that is it. And even when you look at the Phoenix Force on that other page that you're showing with the solar system inside of her, and it's like that so represents, what you have. And cover-wise, I like the cover for, what is it, 42?
43.
43. I like the 43 cover better than the other one, but the other one's not bad either.
Well, you get the Jean's upskirt shot there.
Yeah. So,
and I love that the Watcher is in the corner crying of that box, the corner box art. The Watcher is in, because he has a cameo in issue 138, right?
137.
Talking to the reader about how the Phoenix Force is something that he is there to watch and witness, right? So referencing him there in the corner box is kind of awesome. Daryl says these were also collected in a trade called Vignettes. Oh, nice to know. Cool. I have not taken the time. John Bolton acquired taste. Yeah, I like his artwork. I have not checked to see how many of the issues are in my classic X-Men omnibus. I know that obviously issue 8 would be in there, but I don't know if 43 made it in there. The omnibus mostly just collects the added material on the end of the issues. They don't necessarily include the interior stuff because that's collected elsewhere. But I think both of these are in that omnibus. But I knew, Ryan, you would dig. I love these panels. I love this is how this was canon for me as a kid. Reading X-Men, classic X-Men issue 8, this was like the story of Jean. I never knew her going into the water to be different and not have this. So I don't know.
Yeah, I need to go back and read these because this is just seeing the artwork alone is. I mean,
and I cut out like 4 pages of her talking.
I just pulled it up.
Force. It's an extensive dialogue bit. I just gave you the highlights, but it's powerful stuff where you can see Jean dying basically, and the Phoenix Force offering her this out.
Anything where I can get more detail on these stories, like from this era, I will gladly dive into. So, and
it might be worth putting on your hunt list is that classic X-Men omnibus because it's been out of print for a hot minute. I only think they ever did one printing of it. But when it comes up for a steal, it's absolutely worth it. And I was so psyched to get it when I finally got around to finding it last year.
So Foxtastic mentioned John Bolton, and I realized I was trying to think. I was like, oh, I do know that name, and I realized it's from some of the other classic X-Men issues. There's some artwork that he's done, and I think it's from more of the earlier issues. Okay, where even just the back page or the page right on the inside of the back,
because they did alternate back covers, and you'd get New front
Yes.
cover, have the original back cover, and yeah.
And these are like pinups. These are like, they should be posters. They're all like, so especially, and I'm pointing out specifically John Bolton. Like I have a few. If I didn't see these classic issues, I never would have. I mean, yeah, like they're such a treat to collect, and I've been trying to buy them all as I go.
They're dollar bin, 50-cent bin books. Like you can find
most
these books everywhere.
Yeah. Some of the Adam Hughes ones or whatever, like those real
Art Adams, you mean? Yeah.
Or Art Adams, I mean, yeah. Like some of those are they that pop a bit more. I have seen some vendors, mark them up a little to $5 to $10.
And issue number 1 tends to go for a bit of a pretty penny. Yeah.
But yeah, no, ultimately these are fantastic to have in the collection. I didn't know about the collection there, Daryl. So thanks for that. I definitely
for sure. Well, then I guess we could get into some final scores here. I mean, I really am curious to hear from Justin. Like, I held off asking you at the beginning your overall feelings because I kind of wanted to get into it here at the end, as far as like, you read these 8 issues, you read the annual, which was the core of this. You read the Cocoon stuff. How are you feeling about X Factor? Is it possible to give the whole thing a grade where you feel like it reflects this is a lot of reading, but it's a lot of important stuff for where are these characters in the world?
Yeah, so I feel like it worked out better to binge these in a row, or at least in the order that you and I had discussed. So to read 1 through 4 and to just kind of have 1 through 4 as that beginning portion, and then to take a slight break to go to Russia, for the annual, and then come right back to 5 through 8. Like, between all that plus the setup in the beginning that especially with the added story, Ryan, that you had mentioned of some of the background stuff and the efforts that were going into it, I find it so fascinating, even more so now. I really enjoyed all this. I really did. And I think again, talking big picture stuff, I love these characters so much. Obviously Jean and all the things I'm learning about Cyclops as this is new to me more, still, I mean, 201 was a big eye opener for sure, but but all of it, like, plus the new stuff, like, a mix of 2 things. One, the, Rusty and Artie getting some newer mutants, which I'm a big fan of just in general, and to see them, I'm realizing more and more, like, I just love the concept of a character who discovers that they have powers. Like, that to me is just like so fun, no matter what it is. It's just so fun. And X-Men certainly dive fully into that all the time, because mutants are always growing up and learning as they go and all this other stuff. And so to have these mentors kind of come in and try to help save the day. And as I talked about earlier, the idea of X Factor is so polarizing to me, because there are certain instances where I'm like, this is dumb. Like, why who thought this was a good idea, and then on the other side, it's like, well, it did work out. It should, there needs to be something. Maybe this is just not exactly it. And I do like, at least in a couple issues, they do kind of question it and address it and talk it out a little bit. And I don't think there is like a necessarily a right answer. I'm sure there's a fine way to fine tune it, but so I did like it for that, because I was so into that and so intrigued.
And we didn't comment on it, but the idea is, up to this point, there haven't been a lot of mutant characters with secret identities. They are who they are. Like, they are. There is no like mask to pretend to be somebody else. And this is the first time, in a big way, at least in a significant way, we have a group of mutants pretending to have an alternate identity, like a Bruce Wayne, Clark Kent kind of a thing. And I think that was a big shift for the mutant universe at the time.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and so I think ultimately with, again, just learning more of the new state of mind of where Jean comes in, I agree there are little things, Ryan, like you pointed out, I would have loved to have seen more detail of those "whoa, you're back" kind of moments, or even the little jabs of the villains of Blob or whatever, like, just like, oh shoot, her again, like, how to, just even a joke, something a little bit more would have been good would have been great for sure. But with that said, I do think for what we got out of this, it makes me want to read more. It makes me want to read these other annuals that I missed because I tried so hard to fit all this stuff in. But those the Spider-Man one and the Iron Man one I do want to go back to, and then even these back issues of the classics certainly have my attention. So anyways, long-winded way as usual, but to give this a high grade, I'm going to give this I think it's so important too. I just think it's obviously with where we go next and the big picture of Jean and what she stands for and everything else, like 9.4. Like
okay.
I really loved it. I really enjoyed it as a whole. Again, we could nitpick at some stuff, fine. But I think any X-Men fan should read this. I think it's important for anyone to dive into this. Hi, Christina. So yeah, I'm giving it a pretty high grade up there. A lot of emotions, mixed emotions, and even though there are some weaker villains and things like that, I'll ride with it.
Thank you, Christina. I was going to say hey to you in the chat. She's dropping the links for Magic Lasso and for No Good Comics. I appreciate you being such a phenomenal moderator. Thank you for taking the time and spending. I know she even gets like carpal tunnel and stuff. She's a moderator for so many people. She's dropping so many links. I appreciate
That's
you
awesome.
Big time. And then muties are trying to pass themselves off like normal folks. They don't care. Mutants don't care. They're just gonna be who they're gonna be. Whoa, Old Wolf came back. He's back here.
Tony, he woke up.
Wolfie.
Ryan, what about you? Obviously, for you and I, there may be some nostalgia goggles for some of this stuff that might alter, the score that we're able to give to these. But how do you feel about this whole series of books that we read?
Well, I want to ask you two a question before I answer this, and I'd like both of you to answer. Are we better off as comic book fans having Jean Grey back?
Yes, 100%.
That's what I think too. Justin, you say yes?
Yeah.
Then this was our vehicle and probably the best vehicle to bring Jean back. And despite, like I said, some things they do well.
What am I doing? Holy cow.
So selfish, John.
There we go. Whew, that took a long time. Sorry.
Some things they do well and some things they could have done better.
Right.
Yeah.
And I mean, I completely get all the Cyclops hate, and not saying it's not deserved, but at the same time too, the original plan was never to bring her back, so he wouldn't have gotten this rap had she not coming back. Maybe.
Interesting. His story might have been like, how do I juggle being a dad and being a husband and being 201?
A superhero? Don't forget about 201, right?
Yeah, he wasn't that great in 201.
Yeah.
We can get JP back here if we need to.
Fair.
Yeah.
Good point.
But I think we are better having Jean back overall. It really didn't diminish at least my enjoyability of the Dark Phoenix saga like Chris Claremont thought it could legacy-wise. And I understand why you would want to protect that. That's a very beloved story for many comic book readers, myself included. What would have happened if Dazzler would have been on the team? Maybe. I mean, I don't know.
I know you're a fan. I think that would have been a really bad choice. I think Shooter, overruling Claremont was the right call.
Would there have been anyone else if they didn't bring Jean back and it was no Dazzler? I mean, is it Polaris? Is it...
I don't think there's the level of like machismo in the rest of the cast here requires a woman who can carry her own with them. And I don't think there's a female mutant. I don't think there's a female mutant besides Jean who could stand toe to toe with all four of them as on a scale, the four guys and the one woman that could scale.
Sorry,
that.
I meant that Jean does carry it with them.
Jean is the only one.
Yeah.
Maybe Storm, but she's depowered at this phase. Like it's not really a thing. As far as like charisma, story value, could they balance out all four of the guys on one side? And the fact that they're just going to have one woman on the team, it's very old school. And I think the only way to do it was by updating the best character they had of the original five, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Can I add one thing in? Just a thought that came to mind, Ryan, when you were initially telling us this backstory of how this all came to be. I thought you were going to say that something along the lines of, John Byrne, as he comes into the picture, says, "Hey, I'm already doing this, and it's with She-Hulk and the FF Claremont. Stop trying to, or whoever, stop trying to take my ideas or whatever." Because it's a lot of it. The description sounded like it. The way it's like, who is this mystery person joining the Avengers? I guess it was initially, right? And then, but yeah. Anyways, so it's just a little side bit.
Yeah, it does have it. So score wise, I'll give it a score. I'm gonna say 9. I'm comfortable at a 9 all.
Nice.
Foxastic saying Claremont writes Gene adoringly and Scott coldly after this. I totally agree. And because this was my coming of age as a reader, I view Scott coldly, and I don't view him as the hero that a lot of people view him, because this is where I was introduced to him. And I didn't read a lot of the stuff that maybe made him out to be better than he is in this storyline. So that could be on me. And as much as I give him shade, and he deserves shade for this era.
The truth, John.
Yeah. I also have not read enough of the hero making era that he goes through in the later 90s and early 2000s. So, you could argue that I'm missing that vindication, perhaps. Bobby says it's a 9-0 with Snow White pages. Gene Jackson says, Gene, she's still the only girl around. And yes, she does die again and again. And she's called the Phoenix. God damn it. That means she's going to die and reborn. That's kind of in the name. I'm going to give this, I'm going to be super nice and say 8.5. Like I'm feeling 8.0 in my bones, perhaps. Mostly because the stuff I love are the snippets, like the classic X-Men, the annuals. Those are the things that I love. The 1 through 8 have there's never a single issue that I'm like, yes, I love these issues outside of my nostalgia goggles, which are so strong. I have a hard time, breaking away from what I look back on as the early experiences I had reading mutant comics would involve these 8 issues. So as an adult reader, those issues don't hold as much weight for me however, as those annuals, knocked my socks off, and those snippets from classic X-Men are so strong. I also do love the Cocoon discovery. I didn't mention it very much about how Captain Marvel, the Monica Rambeau Captain Marvel, plays into the Avengers discovering and the knowledge.
Yeah.
I love Monica Rambeau in that storyline. I did kind of skim over her there. I do like the way that Byrne uses Sue Storm and Reed Richards to navigate the Cocoon. I like that stuff a lot. So that's where I get to my 8.5. The best stuff is 9.4 all day. The worst stuff is 7.0 all day. So I'm ending up in that 8.5, maybe 8.0 range.
Yeah, that's fair.
But yeah, definitely stuff I love, and definitely stuff I enjoy. And I was excited to experience this. And we're under 2 hours still. We've gone through all these issues. I think we're doing all right. Let's get into some MVPs. Obviously, we're not going to bring up Scott, but Justin, if you had to pick from this experience, is there an MVP? Is there a character that you feel like, or maybe a talent working on these books that you feel like is worthy of highlighting as somebody that you came out of this feeling like, wow, this person?
I'm going to throw. I want to say Rusty and Artie, so I'll pick one for this. And Artie is just so great. I'm gonna go with Artie here.
Oh, glad. That warms my heart.
Yeah, I love the storyline of him, and I don't know. Do we get I mean, I don't recall Artie in more.
He's
recent.
not. He has some cameos, I want to say, in the Hickman era, but he's not. He doesn't play a factor like he does. But in the Mutant Massacre, you will see him in a big way.
Oh, cool. Okay. Yeah, interesting. Yeah, I'll go with Artie. I mean, yeah, there's a lot to choose from here. But yeah, I'm gonna go with Artie on this one.
Sure, that's a great pick, and I'm glad that he. When I was a kid, my heart broke for Artie. I mean, he he's a classic marauder, right? He can't exist in the real world without getting hate and people throwing stuff at him, but he's so pure of heart and so gentle and so compassionate, and yet he's running out in the streets dressed up like an adult trying to like help and save the team. Like he's so self-sacrificed. Yeah, what a sweet kid.
Yep.
Ryan, what about you? Is there an MVP? I'm assuming she's got red hair.
Yeah, I just went with that because she drives so much of the story. Without her,
100%.
And I mean, it's so Jean focused, as it should be. I mean, this was a big deal, her coming back.
Right.
So without her, what do you have? I mean,
yeah.
So
yeah,
100%.
I think you have my MVP, which is Warren Worthington's underwear. Like it really is.
There it is.
Like
he's got to keep the beak somewhere.
He even flies through an airport without his shirt on. Like at one point, he strips his clothes down, throws his shirt off, and flies through an airport screaming Reed Richards' name. Like that, Warren Worthington. What the F, man? Those of you wondering, like, why did John say that he hated Warren Worthington? I read these books as a young person growing up. But I did find his underwear hilarious. I did find his business attire hilarious. And I was there for it. It gave me a giggle every time I turned a page. I was like, he's in his underwear again. We're not going to give Sam Guthrie any more crap anymore because look, this is learned behavior. He saw the original team and he knows like that's what you do to be a successful blonde mutant. Hey, you run around in your tighty whitey.
I'm just saying that he hasn't been the same since he got out of that Morlock tunnel.
Well, yes, I might regret the shade I'm throwing at Warren next season. Yes, this is true.
And thank you, Matt, for what you said.
Let me skim through. There's some fun things here. Fun and lighter reading than the current X-Men issues. 9.0 says Jackson.
Nice.
Scott being a terrible person but a great superhero is what makes him interesting. That's a wonderful point. I like that. Fantastic. Inspector 23 that works for the underwear company that Angel uses is my MVP. There it is. Beast gives up 75% of his hair. MVP. MVP this week is Ryan for bringing all the background info. That's a great comment, Matt.
Like that one.
Love that. Thank you. Give him John, a couple extra points on that tally sheet.
That was very kind of you, Matt. Yes, let's get into a little bit of info here. So I've got no jokes, like all facts here. First issue has the first appearances of Cameron Hodge and Rusty Collins. The second issue has first appearances of Artie and the Tower. Issue 4 has the first appearance of Frenzy. Issue 5, the cameo of Apocalypse. Issue 6, the full appearance of Apocalypse. Issue 7 is the first appearance of Bulk Skids, who Skids still is a character that you see sometimes in comics. Glowworm. And Trish Tilby. The art is almost exclusively by Jackson, but obviously there's other artists with these annuals and stuff as well. Prices. I know it's hard to see. There's a lot of information there. The first issue of X Factor, there are 2 9.9s, and the last sale was for $1,300 in 2014. However, there's almost 1,200 9.8s that go for about $95. So, you know, take your own warning there. Issue 5, the cameo of Apocalypse, has 2 9.9s that last sold for $950 in 2020. But there are almost 1,200 9.8s that go for about $75. So, take that into consideration. There are 2 9.9s of X Factor 6 that have never been sold. Nobody has ever done anything but owned them. Again, there's almost 1,400 9.8s, of which John has one, and they go for about $290. Any thoughts here, Justin, on any of these numbers, any of this information? Interesting.
I was interested in the character Skids. We didn't really talk about her, but I thought she was really interesting right off the bat, and I wasn't sure like where her first. I mean, I guess it makes sense her being first appearance here for number 7, but I can't recall seeing her ever again. But in my small amount of
she is all through the I think she sticks in and around Rusty and the X Factor crew for these early Louise Simonson issues, so she has an ongoing presence. Got it. And I do remember her coming in and out.
Cool. I definitely want to read more of this because just interested. But I think that was my only note there. I don't think I'd want to necessarily. I don't think I need to buy a 9.8 for any of these, but I do think I own 5 and 6. And one. I actually probably own one too.
Yes, Boom Boom is a character coming along later who looks a lot like Skids, but is not the same character.
From New Mutants,
whose father tried to beat the mutant out of her. I believe that was Boom Boom, but I may be wrong. Ryan, any thoughts on the first appearances, on the prices?
I think a 9.9 of issue 1 would be pretty cool to own.
I mean, dang, there's only 2 of them. That's a lot of money.
That would be pretty cool.
I do think issue 2 is vastly underrated. I love Artie. I think that's great. And Cameron Hodge obviously is a character that has impact later on as we get deeper into the Claremont run. Some people mentioned his heel turn, villain turn. So his character, kind of important, I guess. But that is it, gang. We are all Dunskers. I'm going to stop sharing that and close that out. And we're back to normal size. But don't leave. We're almost at the 2-hour mark, and we have 4 trivia questions for you. Why do you want to answer trivia? Because you want to get on this list, because in 2 weeks, we have the big giveaway show where we're going to give away all kinds of comics, and we're going to have original artwork, and we're going to have mystery boxes. We have community members from previous shows who actually probably should reach out to and remind them that they're giving away several pieces and items. It should be a shenanigan-filled affair, and the only way to win a prize is either be one of these awesome people or be in the chat during the live stream when we start giving stuff away, because that's when the shenanigans go down. How do you get on this list? You answer trivia questions. We got 4 trivia questions based on the New Mutants annual that we read on Justin's channel 2 weeks back. Those questions, you get a point if you get the first answer that is correct, or the second answer that's correct, or if Ryan likes your incorrect answer. That's the other way to get on here. So you know what kinds of things Ryan expects from his chat answers.
That's right.
So would you kick it off for us, Justin? What's your first question?
Sure. Yeah, so this is based off of the New Mutants Annual 2 that we broke down 2 weeks ago on my channel. My first question is, what was so awkward about Betsy and Doug returning to the real world after defeating Spiral? So at the end of the issue, they had kind of were in this dream world sequence, and they finally make it back to their reality. And there was something different about them, how they arrived. That was a bit awkward, but yeah, what was that? What was that? That awkwardness. And thank you, Roy Kirk, for dropping that line.
Always helping us out with the starting line. Appreciate you, sir.
While you're waiting for some answers to come in, I'll tell you guys that if you want to learn more about X Factor issue 2, it's my current back issue of the week short on my channel, and I do a very extensive review just on issue 2. And also this afternoon, I dropped an all X-Men themed video.
You don't even let me hype you. I was going to list all of this stuff.
Well, the thing is, by the time that the questions get done, everyone starts to bail. So we can talk about it then, but I've got even a slab. A Bronze Age slab.
He's got some great comics from the start to the end almost of the Claremont run, and Ryan is expanding his run of Claremont era stuff. So it's very entertaining, and it might explain why I have certain books behind me just to taunt him about what he's missing. So Old Wolf and Matt Empressed Comics are the first 2 correct answers.
Yes.
So let's add some
Old
points
Wolf
in for
and
those
Matt
guys.
are naked.
Yes.
Okay.
We also have Tony saying they were dancing to Diana Ross.
Oh my gosh.
He's playing to the judge with that answer.
Smart man.
Bobby was a little late with naked.
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 Naked means you have no clothes on and you're up to something.
How else do they watch this show, Ryan? Jeez. They were dancing to Dazzler music. Oh, disco Dazzler style.
Ryan's got to make a tough decision here.
Oh, and now his loyalties are split. Does he go with Diana Ross or Disco Dazzler?
I'm going to go with, because she gives good hugs, Candace.
Oh, Barbosa.
Yeah. And I have had an in-person hug from Candace.
I was going to say, how do you know if Tony doesn't give good hugs?
Well, I don't know. Well, I
hear he grabs.
I hear he grabs a little.
He is a grabber. He is a grabber.
He is a grabber.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I can speak from experience.
Be prepared to clench. My first question is about Dougie again. Yeah. Doug is seen to be drawing on some apparently personalized Xavier stationery, but he draws a picture. What is it that Doug draws on the Xavier School for Gifted Youngsters stationery? What is it? What's he doodling on there? I like how you don't say I hug everybody. You say I hug everything. I mean, I just picture you hugging a lamppost or a desk. All right. They're about to stir some spaghetti. They're all out of the sauce.
Oh man.
Thank you, Jackson. So, yeah, what is it that Doug draws on the stationery?
You know what I think it is?
He draws a Polaroid of Scott and Maddie. Oh, Lord.
You want to know can I tell you what I think they're drawing?
Yeah.
What Doug's drawing? I think he's drawing a picture of the Frame brothers.
Oh.
Ooh, yeah.
I'm not going to dig it out right now. But, I have the overlay. What am I
throw it up there.
I got the overlay. Yes, this is what he's talking about. This is the piece of original art we're giving away that you guys could win in 2 weeks. So there you go. Yeah.
I want to win a Frame brother, and then I would just make him draw every day. For me.
Keep him in the basement, make him draw.
I mean, there's two of them. There's two of them. You can give away one.
That's true. I've got one comedy answer and no correct answers. He's drawing his own conclusions. There's at least 2 comedy answers. If I don't get a correct answer, I'm going to give Bearded Comic Bro one. I'm just going to give a point to the Bearded Comic Bro. So let's see if I get at least one correct answer. Otherwise, I'm giving Greg something because I want to see.
Great. Then we could message Greg later, be like, "Hey, congrats, man! You got on the
right."
He'll be like,
"He's drawn flies." Give it to Greg. All right.
Yeah, give it to Greg.
The chat says, "Ooh," but just after I gave one to Greg, that is the correct answer. He draws a picture of Warlock, his buddy. He draws a picture of Warlock. So I will give you another point, Old Wolf. But I'm also giving Bearded Comic Bro the other one. What about a comedy answer? I got flies. He's drawn to flies. He's drawing conclusions, or he's drawing a Polaroid.
I'm going Boggy for conclusions.
Boggy.
Yeah, Boggy.
The Bogster.
There we go.
Boggy.
All right, Justin, second question.
All right, my second question is, how did Ileana handle how did I botch this? How did Ileana handle
washing the dishes?
Yeah, attempt to handle. That's what I meant to write. Washing the dishes in that annual.
Is washing the dishes like stirring the sauce?
It's nothing like stirring. No. Nope. Otherwise, I would wash a lot more dishes. Bobby is thankful for that point. Like he's saying cheers.
Mm-hmm.
Cheers.
And looked like Old Wolf and Lasso, or sorry, Old Wolf and Impressed.
Yeah, Mark Lasso down for that point.
No. Sending it to Limbo. Yeah, she sent it to Limbo, hoping the demons would wash it. And then they sent back a lovely table display with like candles and gothic extras.
Well, I'll say lovely but scary.
Yeah, like red tablecloths and
What's his name? Sim?
Yeah, Sim. Bobby says she summoned a bunch of demons and played fire on the mountain. Run, boy, run.
You should have seen Sim City.
Accidentally.
Sim City.
Sin City.
Yeah. I understood that Charlie Daniels reference, Bobby, just letting you know. I got my fiddle out.
Yeah.
All right. No, I don't see a lot of more comedy answers there, Lasso. Do you see one you like?
Bobby
again.
Devil went down to Georgia. He was looking for a soul to steal.
I love that song. It really is.
It's a great one.
In the mountain, run, boy, run. You should do a music show about that, and a music show. Since we were talking earlier, we were talking about what artists were we talking about earlier today on the show?
Was I talking about an artist?
Bolton.
Oh yes, yeah.
Oh, the art. Yeah.
Now do Michael Bolton.
We're not doing
Michael Bolton.
Wrong artist.
And Tanya Tucker and Brooks and Dunn.
Oh yes, that is. Brooks
so look, we have to draw a line somewhere.
When he brought up Michael Bolton, I just thought of Office Space, where he's like, "Oh, you must love his music." It's his name, where he has the same name.
Yeah,
he's like, "Just call me Mike." And they're like, what?
Yeah.
Like, what do you
Right?
mean?
Why would you? All right. Last question of the night. What is the name of the Mojo animated show that everyone is being hypnotized by? There's a Mojo television program that the world seems to be captivated by. What does Mojo call his TV show?
I call it You're a Wonder Woman.
As a reminder, Justin was live earlier tonight breaking down another classic record, which I said classic, but it's a modern song.
What was the name of the band?
I didn't do my homework.
What was the name?
I blew it. I blew it. It started with a W, I think. I don't remember.
Wolf Mother.
There it was. Wolf Mother.
Wolf
The
Woman.
classic Wolf Mother. My bigger question is, I didn't watch, so I don't know. What's the next album?
Oh, it's my pick, and I have chosen Brian Fallon and his album Painkillers from 2016.
Okay. See, now everybody knows where they got to be doing their homework for the next breakdown.
Hey,
Be
Justin,
ready.
there ain't nothing like a Dolly party.
Old Wolf and M. Prest are correct again. The show is called Wild Ways, which is, I believe, the name of the issue that we read. So,
yep.
It's called The Wonder Woman Twirl. Wonder who? It was called Jerry Springer. That was the name of the show. The Apprentice. He's the star of that show. Mojo is. Boggy coming in hot.
It's funny hearing Jerry Springer, because John, as you mentioned, how the annual books that we read tonight had so much heavier meaning to what was going on, as opposed to the silly drama that Cyclops was dealing with. I thought of Jerry Springer type drama that Cyclops was dealing with.
He's my baby daddy.
Yeah.
It's called Spiral Stole My Mojo.
That's nice.
The Diana Ross Christmas special.
Every day's Christmas.
Nice.
All right, Ryan, you got to just pick one. Oop, Dazzler does Dallas.
That's it.
Oh, Matt coming in hot right at the end, getting another point. Well, congratulations, friends. You've made it onto the wheel. We will be back on Justin's channel with our season finale, our final book that we're breaking down, the Uncanny X-Men annual, with Sove Collector Michael closing out another season for us. So make sure you're subscribed. Make sure the notification bell has been hit, because we'll be over there on Justin's channel next week. But now you are ready, if you just got an entry, to be on the prize wheel for 2 weeks from now. Thank you, Ryan, as always, for making these episodes so knowledgeable, so fun, and just always bringing the best energy, my man.
Thank you for having me back on. Thanks weekly for everyone in the chat who just puts up with me being in there and my comments.
Insufferable.
Both of you, John and Justin, have birthdays coming up this month, and I just want to wish you both a happy birthday. And I sincerely want to thank you for the enjoyment that this show brings. You know, this outside world can, as we all know, can be pretty tough. And when you have something to look forward to on a weekly basis, it means a lot. So thank you for giving that to us in the chat. And I'm speaking on behalf of everyone who is really appreciative of this opportunity that you provide for us, just to throw the rest of the world away for a couple hours and have fun. So thank you guys for doing that, and happy birthday to both of you.
Thanks,
Thank you,
and
Ryan.
please draw my name as the grand prize winner, because I love the Frame Brothers.
No bribes are not accepted.
I know both of your PayPals.
Oh, that's true. Bribes are accepted. Change that. Check that. Thanks, everybody, for hanging out. We appreciate you big time. And we'll see you back in 1 week over on the No Good Comics YouTube channel. Have a great night.
Peace.
Peace.
Later.